My name is Kai Mercer. I'm 38, the youngest son in a family that treats wealth like inheritance is a birthright and power is a personality trait. While my older brother Otis wore tailored suits by 16 and recited boardroom jargon like bedtime stories, I was the quiet one, the architect, the engineer, the background process running everything but never seen. They called me brilliant, but only when it benefited them. Most days, I was just the one who stayed in the server room too long. I've always known I didn't fit their mold, too quiet, too loyal, too inconvenient. Maybe that's why no one flinched when Otis fired me. Not in private, but in front of the entire company. No warning. No explanation. Just one sentence, you're obsolete. And less than 24 hours later, everything we built, the billion-dollar system that ran a national supply chain, collapsed. And here's the part no one knows yet. It was never an accident. There were 100 eyes in that boardroom. Most of them pretending not to see. The walls were glass, but no one made a move. The projection screen flickered with quarterly charts. I was still holding the pointer when he said it. You're obsolete. Otis didn't even blink. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. The silence was chemical. My badge let out a sharp beep. Then another. A red LED pulsed across my ID card like a kill switch. Access revoked. I turned. No one moved. The entire executive team, VPs, even my former intern, all frozen like a paused video. I caught one glance, Amelia, legal, she looked away, almost ashamed. My laptop screen went black. Then restarted. User not recognized. This wasn't just a termination. This was an execution. A public stripping of identity. Security didn't grab me. They didn't have to. I stood, slow, deliberate. My voice calm, too calm. You do realize the routing logic you're using is hard-coded with behavior trees I never published, right? Otis smiled. We've already moved to new protocols. Scalable. Modular. Younger. Good luck understanding the threshold layering, I said. He shrugged. We'll figure it out. Nobody's irreplaceable. That's when I knew. He wanted me out before the holiday surge. Before the investors arrived. Before the press demo. Whatever he was planning, he didn't want me in the room. I walked out. Clicks of my shoes on polished stone echoed like a countdown. Someone whispered my name. I didn't look back. The elevator doors closed. Alone. My pulse was steady. 10 floors down. 9. 8. I didn't check my phone until I was in the garage. The screen was lit. Unknown number. No message. No caller ID. I tapped. Voicemail. Playback began. If they push that update, the load triggers a failover loop. At scale, it'll take down every node on the East Coast. There's no rollback once it goes live. It wasn't meant for production. Not yet. My voice. But I'd never recorded that. Apartment. 2:37 a.m. I scrubbed the audio. Looked for splice points, compression artifacts. Whoever made it knew what they were doing. It wasn't just forged. It was surgically edited. Someone had pulled audio from my team meetings. Mixed it. Looped it. And then I saw the file name, commercerfailsafe.m4a. That was the name of a private folder I kept on my encrypted drive, never synced. Air-gapped. Physical key only. My breath caught. I checked the drive. It had been accessed. Last login, 12 hours ago. Same time I was presenting in the boardroom. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text. Unknown sender. Turn off your phone. Now. They're tracking you through the dev account. I froze. Another text followed. And Kai. Don't open the Omega folder. My hand hovered. I opened it. Inside, a single file. Omega protocol key.inject. I clicked. The screen glitched. Then. Error, file encrypted. Biometric unlock required. The laptop fan screamed. Then died. They weren't just deleting me. They were using me. If that audio is real, someone just built a death switch inside my code. News doesn't break. It bleeds. I watched it unfold from a cracked TV in a corner liquor store. No sound. Just ticker lines crawling like ants. Mercer Dynamics freight system halts nationwide. Glitch and update suspected. Millions affected. Cut. A second screen. This one in color. Aerial footage of stalled delivery trucks in Texas. Horns blaring. One driver screaming into a phone. Cut again. A hospital. 3 injured. Pile up on I-80. Emergency responders swarming like bees over wreckage. I blinked. Didn't breathe. The cashier didn't look up. Just scanned my Red Bull. My phone vibrated once, then died. Battery full. Screen black. I didn't turn it back on. Outside, Seattle rain slammed like glass shards. I walked 3 blocks, hit the alley behind 6th and Vine, and texted one name. Nate. I hadn't spoken to him in 2 years. He replied in 30 seconds. Where? I sent him the coordinates. 20 minutes later, we sat in the back of his Jeep, engine running, heater blasting. He passed me a burner phone. You watched the news? He asked. I nodded. I saw my signature on the error logs. Nate's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. That's impossible. You never committed anything to production without multi-factor approval. I looked at him. They used my biometrics. My private key was cloned. He didn't ask how I knew. He knew me better than that. Nate sighed, staring out the windshield. You ever heard of a module called Omega Frame? My stomach twisted. Only in rumor. It was a fail-safe sandbox we discussed. For testing environmental collapse protocols. They launched it last night, he said. After you were removed. I whispered, that thing was never meant to touch live systems. It's recursive. He nodded. It's wiping itself clean every 8 hours. Taking memory blocks with it. How much data have they lost? 42% of logistics AI. Another 20 missing in backups. Entire routing nodes went dark. And they blamed it on me, I muttered. Nate gave a half smile, bitter. That's the trick with guilt. People believe the version that makes them sleep better. Later that night, I broke into my old DevOps archive through a VPN tunnel Nate built. No passwords worked. But one port was open, admin legacy. They left it behind. Probably forgot it existed. I crawled in. What I found stopped my breath. All live updates from last 36 hours were logged under my user ID. Every patch. Every commit. The last entry. User, K.Mercer. Action, merge, Omega protocol key.inject. Time, 4:08 a.m. That was an hour after I was locked out. I hadn't been sabotaged. I had been framed. Nate stared at the screen. They injected the protocol under your credentials and ran it while you were sleeping. I shook my head. No. That's not just malice. That's architecture-level rewriting. Someone had root. He frowned. Root access is locked down. Only you and Otis ever had. He stopped. Silence. Engine humming. I said it first. He used my code to plant the collapse. Nate didn't deny it. He didn't have to. You said something to me once, he said. Back when we were building the grid load balancer. I looked at him. You said, everything brilliant can become a weapon in the hands of someone who doesn't understand why it was built. I nodded slowly. I remember. He pointed at the screen. That's what he did. He turned your failsafe into a live detonation. The next morning, Nate woke me at 6:03. His face pale. They're calling it cyberterrorism now, he said. Federal level. They're coming for you. He handed me a flash drive. Backup of your unedited logs. Take it. Go. My chest tightened. Where? I asked. Anywhere they won't expect you. Somewhere without cameras. I built this city's grid. There are always cameras. He paused. Then vanished in plain sight. I left his Jeep, heart pounding. Air cold as steel. My breath fogged in front of me like smoke. Somewhere behind me, a car engine started. Another one. Closer. Too close. I ducked into a construction site. Weaved through metal scaffolds. Boots echoing behind me. I didn't look back. I dropped into a foundation pit. Mud. Rebar. My lungs burned. A shadow passed over me. Helicopter. I lay flat under a tarp. Water dripped into my mouth. Somewhere above, a voice crackled through a megaphone. Kai Mercer, you're wanted for questioning under Federal Code 18 U.S.C. 1030. Step out now. I didn't move. The sky rumbled. Rain fell harder. He didn't just fire me. He weaponized my legacy. I stayed hidden for 36 hours. No phone. No signal. No light. Just my breath and the sound of distant sirens scraping against steel rain gutters. In a maintenance closet under an abandoned transit hub on Yesler, I replayed every second of my last week at Mercer. Every hallway glance. Every handshake that lingered too long. Every silence in every meeting. People don't betray you suddenly. They practice it. And Otis? He didn't just plan the fall. He rehearsed it. Daylight filtered in through rusted vents. I climbed out through a maintenance hatch and slipped into the crowd at Pike Place. Tourists. Strollers. Smells of grilled salmon and street jazz. Cameras everywhere. No sudden moves. I ducked into a souvenir shop, bought a rain poncho, sunglasses, and a mariner's cap. Cash. No receipt. The woman at the counter smiled. Rough weather? I nodded. Storm's just getting started. Veronica appeared in my line of sight like a ghost. One blink, and she was beside me, slipping a burner phone into my pocket. You look like shit, she muttered. Follow me. I didn't ask where. 4 levels underground, in a parking garage with no Wi-Fi, she popped the trunk of her Tesla and pulled out a lead-lined case. Inside, a tablet. Disconnected. Cold boot only. No GPS. She opened a folder labeled Intercept, Legacy Network Backdoor. Where did you get this? I asked. She raised an eyebrow. Same place Otis hired his cleanup crew from. The place that charges in crypto and doesn't ask for NDAs. She tapped the screen. The schematic blinked on. Omega wasn't just a protocol. It was a trigger. Designed to pull data from Mercer's original core system, the one Dad built before he died. That system was supposed to be mothballed. Sealed in legal escrow. Untouchable unless both brothers agreed. I never signed off, I said. You didn't have to, she replied. Otis forged your biometric authorization last fiscal quarter. The air changed. Tightened. Like the room got smaller. I whispered, he used Dad's framework. Behind my back. Veronica nodded. He's not just burning your legacy. He's rewriting it. I stared at the screen. I remember what Dad said when he showed me the original Omega grid. He said, "This isn't tech. This is trust. Once you put this into the world, you don't get it back." Cut. New location. Rain. Midnight. We're on the rooftop of a hotel Otis's shell company uses for off-grid meetings. Veronica hands me a hardwired mic. "You've got 10 minutes before the signal spikes. Get in, get the server image, and ghost." She pauses. "If you see Nolan, don't engage." Nolan. Otis's personal fixer. Ex-CIA. No fingerprints. No paper trail. Last time I saw Nolan, he smiled like someone who already knew how you'd die. I moved through service doors. No cameras. The hallway smelled like bleach and wire insulation. Room 1612. Swipe. Entry granted. A suite. Empty. One blinking server node in the corner, behind a soundproof partition. I stepped in. Plugged the image snare into the port. 10%. 20. A soft noise behind me. Click. The door locked. Nolan stepped from the shadows. "Hi, Kai. You know they called you a genius," he said. "Otis didn't. But the others did. Even me, once." He walked slowly. Confident. "But you weren't dangerous until you built something he couldn't control. That's why he had to destroy it." I stood still. The drive hit 70%. Nolan stopped a foot from me. Pulled out a folder. Inside, a subpoena. Federal. With my name. "Sign this. Confess to unauthorized system deployment. Take the fall. Or." He didn't finish the sentence. I looked at the folder. Then I smiled. "You know what the difference is between code and a lie?" I asked. He tilted his head. I said, "Code always leaves a trace." Then I dropped the backup key from my sleeve and slammed it into the secondary port. The server hissed. The firewall reversed. Nolan lunged. Too late. The power grid blinked. Server complete. Dump cloned. Signal bounced to 6 nodes. Data out. He grabbed me. Slammed me against the glass. "Where is it?" I spit blood. "You're obsolete," I whispered. Then Veronica's voice crackled in my earpiece. "Package secured. Meet at fallback." Nolan's radio screamed with interference. I kicked off the window ledge. Slammed the panic bar. Fire alarm triggered. Strobes. Screaming. Hotel evaluating. I vanished into the chaos. For the first time, my brother realized the collapse wasn't a project. It was him. They didn't call it a warrant. They called it a locate and secure directive. Which is what you use when you don't want a suspect to reach a lawyer. The city woke up angry. Sirens. Helicopters. News vans stacked like vultures outside Mercer Dynamics. My face looped on every screen, clean headshot, company bio, the word architect stamped beneath it like a crime. I watched from the back seat of a rideshare, hood up, head down. Driver glanced at the mirror. Too long. I got out early. Veronica met me under the Alaskan Way Viaduct. Wind howling. Diesel stink. The water below slapped concrete like it wanted blood. "You're trending," she said, handing me a phone wrapped in foil. "That's never good." I scrolled. Former Mercer engineers sought for questioning. Insiders say sabotage was deliberate. Sources confirm federal interest. "Interest," I said. "That's a soft word for a gun in your back." She nodded. "They've deputized a private task force. Paperwork's clean. Funding isn't. Otis? Otis, she confirmed. Through Mercer Holdings. Plausible deniability with a bow on it. I thought of something my father used to say when deals got ugly: if someone insists they're protecting you, check where their hands are. Cut. A parking garage. Levels down. Fluorescent lights flicker like bad memories. Veronica opened the trunk of her car. Inside, burner laptops, cash, gloves, a folded ballistic vest. Put it on, she said. I don't do vests, I replied. You do now. As I strapped it tight, a black SUV rolled past the ramp. Slow. Windows tinted. She shut the trunk softly. They're hunting you like a narrative. Not a man. What does that mean? It means they don't need you alive. They need you guilty. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. Again. I answered. Kai, a calm voice said. This is Agent Moore. We'd like to talk. I'm listening, I said. Where are you right now? Somewhere you already know. A pause. The faintest smile in his voice. You should come in voluntarily. Why? So this doesn't get worse. I laughed. It came out wrong. You don't start with helicopters if you want a conversation. Silence. Then, you've been charged under federal code. If you run, it complicates things. I ended the call. Veronica watched me. He's not federal. How do you know? Because he asked where you were. We moved fast. Side streets. Construction zones. Places cameras don't like. Everywhere felt watched. Reflections in windows. Footsteps half a beat behind. A cough that didn't belong to anyone near us. At a crosswalk, I felt it, the pressure between the shoulder blades. The sense that a finger was already tightening somewhere far away. I whispered, we're boxed. She nodded. 3 minutes ago. A man stepped out of a deli. Hand to ear. Another across the street pretended to tie his shoe. Then I saw him. Nolan. No disguise. No rush. That same calm like gravity couldn't touch him. Veronica hissed, run. We ran. Chaos. Noise. Sirens swelling. I cut left into a crowd pouring out of a public ballroom, some charity gala. Tuxedos. Dresses. Cameras flashing. Distraction. A woman screamed when I knocked her clutch loose. Cameras swung. Lenses snapped. Reveal. Nolan burst through the doors behind us. Security froze. Nobody knew who to stop. I felt a hand grab my arm. Not Nolan. A uniform. Sir. Veronica slammed him with her elbow. Hard. Clean. He went down. We sprinted through the kitchen. Steam. Shouts. Slippery tile. A gunshot cracked. Metal rang. My breath burned. I remembered something a mentor once told me: fear isn't what stops you. It's what tells you how much you want to live. We burst into an alley. Dead end. Dumpsters. Brick wall. Rain pouring like static. Nolan stepped in slow. Weapon low. Professional. Kai, he said. You're making this expensive. I backed up. Felt brick scrape my spine. Veronica raised her hands. Let him go. Nolan smiled. You know I can't. I said, you don't have to do this. He tilted his head. I already did. A red dot appeared on my chest. Another on Veronica's shoulder. Snipers. Then, sirens. Real ones. Police cruisers skidded in. Doors flew open. Everything froze. Nolan stepped back. Melted into shadow. Gone. Cops swarmed us. Hands up. Guns shouting. Veronica whispered, "Don't say a word." I didn't. They cuffed me. Cold steel. Too tight. A camera shoved in my face. Microphone inches from my mouth. Kai Mercer. Did you sabotage the system? I looked straight ahead. Somewhere above the noise, a helicopter hovered. I thought of Otis. His office. The glass. The view. My brother didn't fire me to save the company. He fired me to make sure I wouldn't survive it. The cuffs came off without an apology. A plain room. Gray walls. One-way glass. The kind of place where time stretches until you start doubting your own name. An agent slid a phone across the table. You have one call. I didn't call a lawyer. I called my brother. Otis answered on the second ring. Of course he did. Where are you? He asked, calm as a man checking the weather. Somewhere you forgot to lock, I said. A pause. A breath measured in boardroom seconds. You need to stop this, Kai. You're making it worse. I didn't start it. You did, he said. You always did. You built systems no one could understand. You hid behind complexity. I leaned back. Complexity is what you call truth when it doesn't flatter you. Another pause. I could hear the hum of his office, top floor, glass walls, city below like a model he owned. Come up, he said. Let's talk like family. Family. The word tasted like rust. The elevator ride to the penthouse took 48 seconds. I counted. Old habit. When things go wrong, count what you can control. Doors open to light. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Seattle spread beneath us, rain slicking the streets into silver veins. Otis stood by the window, jacket off, sleeves rolled. The posture of a man ready to forgive, on his terms. He smiled. You look tired. I've been running from your signature, I said. He waved me in. Sit. I didn't. He poured himself water. Didn't offer me any. You know what Dad used to say? Power is the art of timing. I remember another version, I said. He said timing without conscience is just theft. Otis's jaw tightened. Barely. You think this is about the project? He asked. It's about survival. The company was bleeding. Investors wanted a fall guy. I gave them one. You gave them me. You were convenient. There it was. Clean. Efficient. Like a merge commit with a message that lies. I didn't sabotage anything, I said. You didn't have to. He turned, eyes sharp now. You built Omega. You gave me the knife. I just decided when to use it. I felt it then, the quiet roar in my chest. Rage doesn't always scream. Sometimes it calculates. You forged my biometrics, I said. That's a felony. He shrugged. Prove it. I smiled. I already did. Veronica's voice hummed in my ear, almost tender. We're live. Otis frowned. What did you say? I tapped my watch. The glass wall behind him flickered. Then split into a grid, news feeds, compliance portals, secure channels. Faces popped in. Regulators. Journalists. A familiar blue seal from a federal oversight committee. Otis's color drained. You always liked rooms with views, I said. I prefer rooms with witnesses. He stepped back. This is illegal. Recording a confession? I asked. In a state that allows one-party consent? I'm the party. He laughed once, sharp. You think this saves you? I tilted my head. It's funny. People say truth needs protection. I think lies do. They need money, lawyers, men like Nolan. His eyes flicked. Just a hair. Enough. You set the collapse, I said, loud enough for the room. You pushed Omega into production. You used my credentials to trigger the failsafe. You wanted the system to fail so insurance would pay out and the board would approve the buyback. Silence. Heavy. Cinematic. Otis exhaled. It was a controlled burn. Controlled? I asked. 3 people were hospitalized. They'll settle, he snapped. Then caught himself. Too late. Veronica whispered, got it. Footsteps. The door burst open. Security. Not Otis's. Badges I recognized from training decks. Otis spun. You can't do this. I'm the CEO. A woman in a navy blazer didn't blink. Not at the moment. They moved fast. Clean. Professional. The way systems should work. As they cuffed him, Otis looked at me, not angry now. Wounded. Betrayed. You could have come back, he said. We could have fixed this. I shook my head. Some systems don't need fixing. They need shutting down. He laughed, hollow. You think you won? I thought of something I'd learned late. Winning isn't about standing at the end. It's about deciding where the end is. I think the truth finally clocked in, I said. They walked him out past the glass, cameras flashing below like a second skyline. I stayed where I was, breathing steady, heart loud. Veronica appeared at my side, phone still warm. You good? Not yet, I said. But I will be. She nodded. Aftershocks coming. I looked down at the city. The systems would stabilize. New leaders would promise transparency. Old money would learn new words. And somewhere in the noise, my name would be said again. Not as a scapegoat. As a hinge. For the first time, my brother realized the collapse wasn't the project. It was him. Silence comes last. After the sirens fade. After the headlines stop screaming. After the world decides what story it wants to keep. I found the silence on a ferry crossing the Sound at dawn. Cold air. Steel rails slick with salt. The city behind me looked smaller than I remembered, like a model someone had shaken too hard. I watched the skyline breathe, lights blinking off one by one, systems powering down. For the first time in weeks, no one followed me. Or maybe they still were, and I'd finally learned how to live with it. 3 days later, the charges were dropped. Quietly. The press called it a procedural reevaluation. Lawyers call it evidence. I call it gravity doing what gravity does. Otis was denied bail. The board issued statements with words like regrettable and unforeseen. A new interim CEO promised transparency while standing behind tinted glass. The company lived. Different. Scarred. Slower. Like everything that survives a fire. I packed my apartment in a single night. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. There's a truth no one tells you about winning. It doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like weight being set down after you've forgotten what lightness was. Veronica stopped by to return the burner phones. She lingered in the doorway. You ever think about going back? She asked. To Mercer? I shook my head. No. To the person I was there? Sometimes. She smiled, tired. You saved more than you burned. I didn't save it, I said. I exposed it. She nodded. Same thing, most days. Before she left, she said something that stuck with me. Power hates daylight. That's why it builds shadows. The trial date came and went. I didn't attend. I watched the verdict from a quiet diner off Highway 2, coffee gone cold, eggs untouched. Guilty. On multiple counts. When the reporter asked Otis if he had any regrets, he looked straight into the camera and said, "I trusted the wrong people." I laughed then. Not loud. Not bitter. Just tired. There's a saying I once heard and never forgot: when a system fails, it's rarely because of the parts, it's because of what the system rewards. Otis rewarded obedience. Speed. Applause. I rewarded truth. Even when it cost me everything. I got a call that afternoon. Unknown number. I let it ring once. Twice. Then answered. "Mr. Mercer," a woman said. Calm. Measured. "We're forming an independent oversight group. Infrastructure resilience. Public interest mandate. We could use someone with your experience." I looked out the diner window. Snow dusted the trees like static. "Let me guess," I said. "No glass offices. No titles that look good on LinkedIn." A pause. A smile in her voice. No illusions. "I'll think about it," I said. When I hung up, I realized something strange. For the first time, my future wasn't a reaction. It was a choice. I visited my father's grave a week later. No flowers. He never liked them. Just stood there, hands in my pockets, wind cutting through my coat. "I finally understood what you built," I said. "Not the systems. The restraint." I remembered him telling me once, late at night, soldering iron cooling between us, "Just because you can design a thing doesn't mean you should decide how it's used." I hadn't understood then. I do now. People still ask me what happened. I tell them the short version. That my brother fired me. That the project collapsed. That the truth came out. What I don't always say is this. That being called obsolete almost broke me. That losing my family hurt more than losing my job. That revenge wasn't what saved me, the clarity was. There's another line I carry with me now, one I repeat when the noise gets loud: the most dangerous systems are the ones that convince you you're replaceable. I wasn't. None of us are. On my last night in Seattle, I stood on a rooftop overlooking the water. No cameras. No crowds. Just the hum of a city that would keep running long after my name was forgotten. I took out my old badge, the one they deactivated in public, and dropped it into the dark. It didn't make a sound when it hit. Somewhere below, the system absorbed it. Adjusted. Moved on. I turned away. Not because I was obsolete, but because I was finally free.